Instagram. This is my English version of my morning video from May 31st, 2020. That was a 4-4 day in numerology. If you're watching me from the West Coast, it's still Sunday the 31st, and you still have the chance to make your balance, your meditation of balancing energies to just take advantage of these kind of energies that are coming from the day and also from planet Earth and cosmos and all of that. So I encourage you to, as soon as you finish watching this video, you might want to do some kind of meditation regarding that. Now, the reason why I am doing this video tonight is because Mexico is starting what they call the new normality. I don't know what that means, but that's what they call it, because for me, it's not normal yet. But I'm not going to go into a political discussion or anything like that. The 31st would be the first day that they will reopen businesses and the airports, and they should be, going back to normal. Since it's already Sunday, Monday, June 1st, is the first business day on a labor week that we will be going back to normal, with a whole bunch of cases still going on in Mexico, very especially on Mexico City. Thank you for joining me in my live. Those of you who are starting to hook up on Instagram. Okay, so I'm addressing this video in English because we do have a lot of Latinos in the U.S. and probably other parts of the world. I don't know where you're watching me from, but other parts from the world that they do not speak the language, and if they do, it's either a broken Spanish or Spanglish. They have the culture, they have the tradition, but they do not have the language. So in order for me to reach them, I must do this video in English so that they can be able to understand me. This is my second video in English. Most of my videos are in Spanish. You can go into my YouTube channel library and you'll see it's mainly in Spanish. I've only have one video, and it was when the pandemic started. And now I don't remember the exact date. It was either when the quarantine started or the pandemic started, when it was declared by WHO. Okay. Now that we are out of the quarantine, or allegedly out of the quarantine, and I say that because I do see a relapse. I see another quarantine coming up, and that's exactly why I am here. So, like I was saying, I've only had 2 videos in English, specifically for my Latino people in the U.S., which is where I live too. And I want to address 4 main visions, revelations, or impressions, whatever you want to call it, that I have been having during this crisis. In fact, even from last year, but I didn't address it. I've been addressing it mainly during the quarantine, during this particular pandemic crisis, because of the crisis. Now, let me introduce myself. My name is Mei Ling C. Miller. and I am a professional counselor. I am a crisis intervention specialist. I am a twin flame, and I'm also a spiritual leader in the Hispanic community. And I'm, in fact, one of the pioneers of Haggai Institute Alumni Association in Puerto Rico. I was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico. I left the island at the age of 15 and then went back, and I'm back in the States like for the last 10 years or so. Okay, so having said that, let me tell you the four main visions that I've been having. Number one is that the quarantine was going to last longer than expected, which indeed it happened. At first, it was only 2 weeks. It was going to be from March to April, and I knew it was not going to be that short. That spring break was going to be totally abnormal. We were going to have millions of cases, and that's exactly what happened. Indeed, that is what is still going on. So as soon as I said that, of course I had opposition, but I knew what I was saying because I believe in someone that does say the truth all the time, and that's the one up there, the Holy God of Israel, blessed be he. So if he reveals me that truth, that is the exact truth that I'll be talking about. I said the pandemic, actually I was already talking about pandemic in February before WHO was declaring it as a pandemic, because the Lord told me it was going to be a pandemic, and that's exactly what happened. I also said that the quarantine was not going to be short, and that's exactly what happened. I've been talking about crisis and that we were going to go through changes. We were going to have a major shift since last year, and that's exactly what happened. That's what's happening right now during year 2020. When year 2020 started, I said that we were not going to have peace. I can't remember the exact date, whether it was December 31st or January 1st, something like that. January 3rd, the United States bombarded Iran, and they killed a general in Iran. And since then, there's been no peace. There's been military attacks. There's been this big time pandemic crisis. Now there are a whole bunch of riots going on all over the United States and different cities. And there is no peace. So everything that the Lord has shown me in visions, whether they are in visions in dreams or visions either meditating or with eyes opened, they are coming to pass and they are being fulfilled. So now that we're having this pause, I should say it that way because it is a pause for this quarantine, I must address these other four visions that I've been mainly having. Number one, the quarantine is coming back. Okay, we're having a relapse. It's not going to be by winter, probably not by autumn either. I see it coming by late summer. I see it coming back in a few weeks. Okay. I see a whole bunch of people going back into their homes, very upset about it. Actually, I think that was yesterday or so. Well, I'll give you details about it. But anyway, I've been seeing this for a while already. And it makes sense because people are not following rules. They're not following the health protocols. And whatever the government is establishing, they're just taking it for granted or just not not paying attention, just not obeying it, period. So because of that, and because a lot of people are confusing the end of the quarantine with the end of the pandemic, we're going to have a relapse because people are going to go out and it's already being seen. People are going out without masks, without gloves. They are not keeping social distancing or anything like that. And because they're not taking this seriously enough, we're going to go down again. So the last vision I had, I think it was yesterday, I saw it was summer. It's going to be as soon as summer. Yeah, it was indeed yesterday. That's where I saw it. It's going to be earlier than expected. Yeah, I saw that yesterday. And the quarantine is going to be even more strict than what we had the first time. If we were allowed to go to the supermarket or the drugstore or the bank, it's not longer going to be allowed. We're going to have to stock, to pile, to go ahead and buy extra, make like a double portion of medications, double portions of food, and all that kind of thing, because we're not going to be allowed to go out at all. Because if we weren't able to manage the first quarantine and it's still out of control, this next quarantine, we either control it or control it, because it's a life or death situation. And that's how strict it's going to be. I hate to say this, but I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not going to cover up the truth of what I'm seeing and what's coming. I see a much stricter quarantine, and I see a worse relapse as well. So, because the government is not going to allow another economic crisis to come up again, because of people not obeying the rules and not following the health protocols. That's why it's coming even much strict and everything like that. The consequences of this pandemic crisis is far beyond than expected, and the economy is crumbling down. Now, that's the other vision I'm going to have to address. The economy is not going to get any better. The economy is going to crash badly. We're going to fall into a big depression, and it's going to look like the 30s and that Second World War. I think it was, the 30s, First World War, and it's going to be like the 30s. Yes, that Great Depression that we had. I see huge lines of people going to food banks for just a little plate of soup, because there's not even enough food to give to people. Okay. There are a lot of people that are going to fall into poverty and misery. There's going to be a whole bunch of families, entire families, homeless. Okay. I saw the unemployment rising at the beginning of this pandemic, and that's exactly what's happening. The amount of unemployed people, it's outraging. It's completely out of control, and it has broken the record way far more than we expected. Okay, and that's going to continue to happen. Okay. Whatever savings you have may not even be enough, because the production is going to go down. And if you have money, you're not going to be able to buy, because factories and companies are going to be closing, and as soon as they'll be closing out and firing people like crazy, that particular product is not going to be available anymore because the factory or the company or whatever that was producing it closed down and it's not coming back. So regardless whether you have money or not, scarcity and lack is going to knock the doors of every single family in the country and probably the whole world. I don't know, because one economy pulls down the other, and it's going to be a big time crisis. Okay, so I also see that coming. Now, as a crisis specialist that I am, I not only see it coming professionally speaking, and because of all the same characteristics that we have right in front of us, just like that particular moment in history, and you can see it is showing up, that those characteristics are showing up. I see it coming spiritually speaking as well. Okay? So, like I said, I've been having visions and impressions and revelations about this. Because I see beyond history or beyond a fact or whatever, due to spiritual gifts that I have and that they have been activated since childhood. Okay. That's so that you would know me a little bit. You can look up my videos. My story is there by bits, some story here and there about my life, mostly in Spanish, but they're there. Okay. Within this crisis, this pandemic crisis, and also the economic crisis, which is a crisis within a crisis, we're going to have another crisis, and that's war and total chaos. Okay, not only what we're seeing right now about the riots and all these protests going on all over different parts of the states and these big cities from coast to coast. We're talking about a war of a foreign country, okay, coming in to bombard us, to drop missiles and fight against us. And what I see is not good, because I see civilians. I hope it's symbolic, just to make me aware that a war is coming, and it will just be between militaries, and that's it. But I won't be surprised if they attack civilians. Okay. Now, this particular country has been in tension, has been in war, kind of like a war, a very tense relationship for a long time. And with this pandemic, it's getting worse. And it's going to get worse. It's not going to get any better, to the point that it's going to bring us a war. Okay? So just have your emergency kit, have extra supplies of medication, first aids, non-perishable foods. It's like getting ready for a hurricane or getting ready for an earthquake or some kind of natural disaster. The same thing. Just be ready and be aware of what's going to happen and get ready for the worst. Okay? I can't say it any better. That's what I see. I see changes in the government, changes in the way companies are going to treat their employees. I saw a particular store, a department store where I saw this. There was a lunch room, like any other company, where employees would have lunch or eat there, whatever their meal was, whatever. And right next to it, right next to that lunch room, was a meditation room or a prayer room, because companies are getting more and more aware of, and now the government just said it this last weekend, that spirituality is essential. Every human being should be taking care of their own spirituality. Now, they're going to be aware of it, they're conscious about it, so they're going to be establishing this new room for employees to, whenever they feel like taking a break, a spiritual break, they can go into this room and do yoga meditation, yoga exercises, tai chi, prayer, whatever they feel comfortable with in terms of like nourishing their soul. And it's going to be permitted. It's going to be allowed. In fact, it's going to be encouraged. Okay. So just like you nourish your physical body with a good meal during your lunch hour or lunch half hour or whatever, you're going to have also a time for spirituality to nourish your soul. Okay. It's going to be considered like part of the break. There's going to be a break to go to the bathroom, a personal break for anything like that, but also a personal break for taking care of your spirituality. Okay, that's part of the changes that are coming. Probably there's some kind of labor reform coming up or something. I don't know, but I saw those changes. Okay. I also see union between twin flames. Now, the reason why unions are coming up, and I have to talk to twin flames specifically as a twin flame myself, and as a professional counselor, and as a spiritual leader, because this all comes together integrated. If you are a twin flame, either in separation or about to go into union, or you are already in union, starting your union or whatever, we're going to be in war and in love. Now, the only way we can tip back that balance between war and hate and anger and racism and xenophobia and all these kind of negativity will be with love. So the reason why we're going to be united and we're going to enter into union with our twin flames is because we're going to be in love and in war. So in order to survive this war and to save the planet from total destruction, we have to do the work as twin flames. And we're going to be in union, loving each other, so that ripple effect of love covers the world. Okay? Now, there are a lot of twin flames right now doing a lot of grit work and big time spiritual work for this pandemic right now. Some of them are about to go into union, and some of them just started their union. But they're there doing their work. And there are a lot of twin flames that are doing that work in 5D, up. Whoop. 5D or up. Okay? So, if we're having that work going on for such a long time, we're going to become an expert by the time the war hits. Do you follow what I'm saying? So we're going to have to start now and do our practice. Now, that was one of the visions that I had today, where I saw myself in college, and actually that's the college that I graduated from my undergraduate studies as a teacher, because I'm also a teacher. I have a BA in education, special ed specifically. And whoever started with this theory, whoever is already studying and reading modules, and they are in these different type of twin flame programs that are around the world and the internet and everything, we are going to go to the lab now. And the lab is not going to be easy. The lab includes a war. Okay? So let's get ready. We're having like a pre-practice right now with this pandemic. And we're doing a lot of 5D up, spiritual work, grit work, light work, and all that kind of thing. Because what's coming, it's even harder, and we're going to need each other. Okay? We're going to be networking. We're going to be doing a lot of grit work, and so on. Let's see. I'm going through the third vision right now. First one had to do with the pandemic. Second had to do with the economy. Third, war. And fourth is union. Yeah. So there's going to be a moment that we are going to recover from all this, and the economy, it is going to recover. Okay. I'm not going to say we're going to be poor and miserable for years or decades. It could be a couple of years, but no more than that. We are going to recover. And the key people for this recovery is twin flames. So that's why I am addressing this particular video, and I'm addressing this topic directly to twin flames, because we are key people in the front lines to help with this recovery. Okay. So I'm going to leave it here. Whatever question you may have, whatever comment, just give me like, comments, whatever. I'm here to help you. I'm here to answer your questions if you have any. I have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Skype, and email. I'm going to put it down on the description box of this video so that you may be able to refer to it. You can subscribe and follow me. Regardless whether you speak Spanish or not, there is a translator, a click that you can give to the translator to whatever post I give, and it will bring you the English or whatever language you want to be translated to, so that you may be able to understand it fully. Subscribe to my channel. Give a click to the bell so that you may be able to be notified whether I post a new video or not, or whatever. I try to do it every single day, especially now with the pandemic, trying to give out support and hope and warnings on time so that you may be able to get ready and pray about X or Y matter that I'm addressing at that particular point in time. So I encourage you to meditate if you can speak Spanish or understand Spanish. If that's your mother tongue, even if your English language is your main language and your dominant language, your mother tongue is still your language of your unconscious. So the best way to meditate if you're Hispanic, if you're Latino, and your mother tongue is Spanish, the best way to meditate and to talk to your unconscious is in Spanish. I do have several meditations on both of my YouTube channels, Mailing C. Miller and the Latin Twin Flame. You can look it up and you can meditate with my Spanish speaking meditations. So let me leave it here and I'll wish you a good night and take care of yourselves. Thank you. Thank you for being here with me. Okay, doesn't want to finish.